I learned about kids jumping on my lap, and I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Mr. President, we've known each other for 40 years, and you've known every Israeli prime minister for 50 years, from Golda Meir. So from a proud Jewish Zionist to a proud Irish-American Zionist, I want to thank you for 50 years of public service and 50 years of support for the State of Israel. And I look forward to discussing with you today and working with you in the months ahead on the great issues before us. President Biden and I have known each other for over 40 years. I want to thank him for half a century of friendship to Israel and for being, as he says, a proud Zionist. Actually, he says a proud Irish-American Zionist.
There's nobody more pro-Israel than I am.
I've known President Trump for many years, and to allude to him or to his people, his team, some of whom I've known for many years too. Can I reveal, Jared, how long we've known you? Well, he was never small. He was always big. He was always tall. But I've known the president, and I've known his family and his team for a long time. And there is no greater supporter of the Jewish people and the Jewish state than President Donald Trump. I think we should put that to rest.
Israel is a very, very important ally of the United States, and we are going to protect them 100%. 100%. They've been our most reliable. It's our true friend over there, and we're going to protect Israel 100%. Nobody loves the Bible more than I do. The Bible certainly is one of, if not, I mean, it is the book.
Let's pray together, may we? Yes.
I believe in God. I am Christian. I'm a Protestant. I'm very proud of it. Presbyterian, to be exact.
I'm Presbyterian. Boy, that's down the middle of the road, folks, in all fairness.
Israel and the US have very strong ties. So strong that the US is willing to take on the whole world for Israel.
America and Israel are forever united.
This was reinforced when Donald Trump moved the US Embassy to Jerusalem, despite only a handful of countries backing it. But was there more to the move?
Moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem was a primary goal, not just of Donald Trump, but of right-wing pro-Israel leaders like Sheldon Adelson, major donors to Trump, but also of evangelical Christians.
The US has many reasons to support Israel, and one of them are pro-Israel lobby groups.
The biggest two organizations within the Israeli lobby, the AIPAC and the Christians United for Israel. And some people say the Christian United for Israel is even bigger than the AIPAC.
AIPAC predominantly consists of American Jewish Zionists, whereas CUFI is made up of evangelicals and are sometimes referred to as Christian Zionists. The two share a mutual goal of creating a state of Israel, but it's CUFI, along with other evangelicals, that is
pushing Trump to make political decisions. Very strong evangelical component that sits behind Trump, that pushes Trump's policies forward. And when the embassy was moved, the Trump administration officials that were at the dedication of the UN embassy brought some of the key evangelical leaders with them. Now, these are evangelical leaders who are hostile to Judaism as a religion. Maybe they might say that they're not hostile to Jews as individuals, but they, first of all, want to convert all the Jews to Christianity, and second of all, believe that the Jews are going to be killed in this final apocalyptic battle.
In spite of their controversial views on Jews, why would Israel accept their support?
Israel needs allies wherever it can find them, especially in the United States, because the U.S. is so important to Israel militarily and in many other politically.
So Israel needs the evangelicals to establish its state. And
Trump needs the evangelicals for votes.
Hopefully, I will have that evangelical support get out and vote. Because you know what? If they vote, we win.
81% of evangelicals voted for Trump. That's big. That's really big. The evangelicals are 1/3 of the population. Trump as well needs the evangelicals because of their strong hand within the Israeli lobby.
And the evangelicals are counting on Trump.
He stood up and he looked right at me and he pointed his finger at me, just like this. He said, other presidents have promised you and failed you, but I will not fail you.
And he didn't fail them. On May 14, 2018, Trump moved the US Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. This move officially recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel.
Donald Trump recognized history. He, like King Cyrus before him, fulfilled the biblical prophecy.
So what's the biblical prophecy they're talking about?
All the Jews in the world have to be driven from their homes in the diaspora to Israel. And once all the Jews are in Israel, then there will be some sort of final battle between good and evil.
And this is where Jesus is going to come back to. He will come and put his feet on the Mount of Olives. Right behind me is the Valley of Kidron. That's where the Battle of Armageddon is going to culminate.
Evangelicals strongly believe that the time for the final battle is coming, and they want Israel to fully control the land by driving the Palestinians out. But Israel needs money to make this happen.
In the form of donations, in the form of grants as well, scholarships for students. But what's more dangerous is the lobbying that they do within the administration to make more military donations to Israel, military funds to Israel. Israel receives on a daily basis, and this is based on the Obama administration's plan in 2016, 10 years plan. They would be receiving $10.5 million a day in military funds. The overall will be like something like $38 billion.
Evangelicals are also funding what Israel calls Aliyah, a term used for the immigration of Jews to the land of Israel. In 2017, 28,000 Jews moved to Israel, and at least 8,500 of them arrived with the donations from evangelicals.
Israel still lives. It will always live.
Even if it means to
Drive out all the inhabitants of the land.
or even if it means sharing the same view on controversial topics, such as the killing of 𝗧𝗿𝗱𝗶𝗁𝗄𝗃.
If we didn't have Saudi Arabia, we wouldn't have a big base. Israel would be in big trouble without Saudi Arabia.
Those who are screaming blood for the Saudis. Look, these people are key allies.
It's very important for the stability of the world, of the region and of the world, that Saudi Arabia remains stable.
Although the three are working together, they do not always share a common goal. Trump is only serving the evangelicals because he needs their votes. The evangelicals are funding Israel because they need the world to end and to be saved. Israel is accepting all forms of help solely because it wants its own nation.
What makes this alliance so crazy, each side is using the other.
So, is there a possibility that this alliance will fracture? Or will they prevail in their goals?
There's a church in the city of Bethlehem. It was built on the spot where Christians believe Jesus was born. It's called the Church of the Nativity. If you consult UNESCO's list of World Heritage Sites or ask travel expert Rick Steves, both will tell you that the church is in Palestine. But when a question about the church's location came up during a round of Jeopardy in January 2020...
Built in the 300s AD, the Church of the Nativity.
What is Palestine?
No.
What is Israel?
That's it.
That answer set off something of an internet firestorm. That's because what you call this land, and who controls it, is at the center of a decades-long conflict between Israelis and Palestinians. But more recently, there is also a third group that is becoming more and more influential here and throughout the Middle East: American evangelical Christians. Today, evangelical Christians are one of the most politically powerful voting blocs in the United States. And in the Trump administration, they've been given unprecedented power. They've turned support for Israel and hostility towards its enemies into core tenets of conservative ideology. And a big part of those policies is rooted in how they interpret the Bible. In 2016, more than a quarter of all U.S. voters identified as white evangelical Christians. One of the primary differences between evangelicals and other Christians is their relationship with the Bible.
Conservative evangelicals believe that the Bible is literally true.
Sarah Posner writes about religion for a bunch of different publications.
Many of them believe that the Bible is sort of this prophetic roadmap for modern life, that events described and prophesied in the Bible will become true.
The Bible is the most historically accurate book ever penned.
The Bible is the one book that dares to predict the future with 100% accuracy.
For evangelicals, the most important of the Bible's prophecies is the second coming, when Jesus will return to earth. The Bible doesn't say when this will happen, but it does say where.
This is Jerusalem. World history as we know it is going to end right here.
Greg Laurie is an evangelical preacher, one of several who meet regularly to advise President Trump. They are the leaders of megachurches with tens of thousands of members. And many of them, including Greg Laurie, preach a belief called Christian Zionism. The idea that the return of the Jewish people to Israel is one of a series of events that will trigger Jesus' second coming.
Jesus is telling us that the rebirth of Israel is a sign of the end, not just a sign, it's the super sign.
According to this theology, God will reward those who help Israel and punish those who don't.
Jesus will be on his throne and he separates the nations. On what basis? How they treated Zion.
Let's back up. After the Holocaust, the UN divided up the then British territory of Palestine, home to more than 1 million Arabs, into 2 states, giving Jews who had been persecuted in Europe a homeland. Over the next few decades, Israel fought multiple wars with its Arab neighbors and seized much of the land that had been originally set aside for Palestinians. Evangelical Christians see that as a fulfillment of biblical prophecy.
It happened exactly as foretold. It was a miraculous act of God.
They own that land and they own that city.
Ever since, groups like Hamas have been fighting against the Israelis, trying to win that territory back. And the government of Iran has been one of their biggest supporters. That's part of the reason Iran plays such an important role in evangelical beliefs about the present state of the world and the future. According to Christian Zionism, if the US wants to be on the right side of biblical prophecy, they need to do everything possible to protect Israel and punish Iran. That also helps explain why a different Bible story is also really important to them. The Old Testament story of Esther, about a plot to destroy the Jews of Persia, or modern-day Iran. The Book of Esther plays such an important role for Christian Zionists, they've made multiple movies out of it.
He has convinced your husband to destroy all the Jews, including you.
Esther saves the Jews by using her persuasion with the king. Evangelicals who are very wrapped up in this kind of theology, because Persia is modern-day Iran, they sort of contextualize this Bible story into foreign policies.
Could it be that President Trump right now has been sort of raised for such a time as this, just like Queen Esther, to help save the Jewish people from an Iranian menace?
As a Christian, I certainly believe that's possible. I'm confident that the Lord is at work here.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Vice President Mike Pence both identify as evangelical Christians, and both have enormous influence over American foreign policy. A ProPublica investigation found that Pence routed millions of dollars in foreign aid that had been earmarked for humanitarian projects in Iraq, diverting it towards Christian groups in the country. When President Trump approved the drone strike that killed Iran's top military commander in January 2020, it was, according to the Washington Post, at Pompeo and Pence's urging. When President Trump moved the U.S. Embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, the move had more support from American evangelicals than American Jews.
The other news swirling around the embassy's move to Jerusalem is what it could signal as part of biblical prophecy.
Donald Trump recognized history. He, like King Cyrus before him, fulfilled the biblical prophecy.
That evangelical support isn't an accident. The Trump administration courts it. After the administration put out a peace plan that would have given Israel unprecedented control over Palestinian land, the Christian Broadcast Network interviewed Trump's ambassador to Israel.
You're talking about opening up the Bible, bringing it back to life in ways that I think your listeners could not even have imagined. It's an opportunity for biblical tourism that I think will grow and flourish in profound ways.
The network's coverage followed his lead.
Good news in this proposed peace plan. Israel would have sovereignty over many historical biblical sites.
For evangelical Christians in America, the Bible isn't just a foundational text. It's a prophetic roadmap that tells the future and shapes the way they view the present. And for an influential group of them, that motivates their support for a foreign policy that they see as affirming those prophecies, and a president who depends on their votes.
For all you anti-Semites out there, your day is gone. If you decide to become an open group of anti-Semites, your days will be numbered. Someone from the Jewish special forces will take you out, just like they take out hundreds of Muslim criminals, hundreds of jihadists each year. They'll take you out as well.
Trump made shocking comments about Ivanka, says ex-staffer. We have known for years that Donald Trump has a sexual affinity for his daughter. For all of the talk in conservative circles about groomers and about save the children and sexual impropriety surrounding kids, the Republican Party seems A-OK with a president, with a man that represents them and their party and their ideology, being gross and sexual about his own flesh and blood daughter. Donald Trump's quote-unquote naked sexism, including toward his own daughter, is described in a new book by Miles Taylor, the former Trump administration official who famously wrote a scathing op-ed about the former president under the pen name Anonymous. Taylor, a former chief of staff at the Department of Homeland Security, described several instances that made women in the Trump administration uncomfortable in his upcoming book, Blowback, an extract of which was obtained exclusively by Newsweek. According to Taylor's book, the worst of the behavior was Trump's lewd comments about his own daughter. Aides said he talked about Ivanka Trump's breasts, her backside, and what it might be like to have sex with her. He's a pervert. This is still the same man, and incredibly, we're considering electing him to the presidency again.
So here, once again, are the words from Ashley Biden's diary. Quote, "I've always been boy crazy," she wrote, "hypersexualized at a young age. I remember somewhat being sexualized with a family member. I remember having sex with friends at a young age. Showers with my dad, probably not appropriate."
Are you a pedophile?
Your only living daughter has been arrested repeatedly and has also wound up in rehab. She blames her sexual compulsions on the fact that you took showers with her as a child. You've never been charged for doing that, but everyone around you knows that you did.
In his daughter's diary, which we're not allowed to discuss, why again? She says that they took inappropriate showers together when she was a child, she and Joe Biden. We don't have to look very far to see his string of inappropriate behavior with women, adult women, not to mention somewhat younger ones with this hair smelling. It's just, it doesn't make me feel comfortable. And if I don't feel comfortable, there's probably something wrong.
The best advice Bill Clinton gave me for raising my daughter, ice cream with Rohypnol sprinkles.
Was it Joe Biden making a gag that would make most people think pedo?
I did not have sex with that child. These allegations are false. She fell onto me while I was erect.
Which is a pretty dangerous area for any politician to head into. Not the least someone with his, shall we say, penchant for sniffing the hair of young girls, and whose own daughter is believed to have written a diary said to belong to her, in which she talks about taking, quote, not appropriate showers with her father.